Yeah, no, that's fine. But I do want to close this episode up with the idea of just the tournament in general. Were you happy with the way it played out? Would you want to see it come back? Does it need changes? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but now that we've seen the whole thing, I know you mentioned you wanted to see the whole tournament play out, but I want to get your thoughts on it now because some people were not very happy with your take on club football fatigue. They thought you were being a little plastic. Anything you want to say about that?
I mean, I do now that the full thing is played out, I do feel like the Club World Cup was a lot more of a success than I thought it would be. I mean, I remember historically, and it was very much like on the back burner. I think maybe for a lot of people because their clubs weren't involved. And now that you could expand it, you get a lot more fans that are going to be invested. But I do feel like the attendance was better than I originally thought it was. There seems to be just more people talking about it in general, more buzz around it, just more news about like what's going on in the games and everything surrounding it. And I do feel like it ended up being like a pretty successful tournament. I mean, I'm sure there's of course things to improve upon. It's the first time they've done this, so at this scale, so I think there's going to be things to work on, but. I mean, I would say I've changed my opinion having seen the full tournament that it's not something I would want them to go away from. I would like to see them do it again. I think the games have been competitive too. I think there was concern about if people were going to care, but I think the money has been enough of a driving factor to get people to care.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I think personally it went better than I expected it to.
Yeah, and I think that's the vibe around most people is that they were, of course, when something happens that is different from the general accepted, I don't know how to phrase this, the general accepted uh, soccer norms, for lack of a better term. You're going to get people who speak out and say, "Oh, this is stupid. It's a cash grab. Don't support it." Blah 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 blah. And then people are like, "Yes, this is terrible. We should hate this." And then they watch two games like, "Oh, you know what? This actually isn't that bad," right? Because you get the whole blown up thing and then you actually see it. It's like, okay, this isn't too bad, right? I've loved the tournament, even if I haven't been able to catch every game. That's not to say that FIFA didn't mess up. They missed on a couple of big things, and we've spoken about this when we were with the COC. Kickoff times suck. Stop catering to the European fans. They will stay up late if they need to. Stop making your ticket prices $500. Easy. And they learned about that ticket prices, right? They slashed those ticket prices in real time when they had to. And that's great. I anticipate they will learn from both of these problems and improve the tournament outright. I also think that they need to figure out a way to balance the schedule so that teams are not playing 2 years straight if they qualify for something like this, right? That's absurd, no doubt. I saw somebody out there before say, hey, you can make something pretty simple like remove Nations League from international tournaments because that's also a cash grab that wasn't needed. But people aren't complaining about that because national team. Sure, I don't think it has the impact that people think it'll have, but there are other ways to get around this. I don't think this tournament's lead. There are ways to get it, but you cannot make, especially the teams like PSG, Man City. I mean, you saw what happened with Man City. They played all the way through. Rodri tears his ACL, ACL, I think so, and done for the season. And all of Man City's season is blown up. Right? Can't do that with any team, let alone the big ones with the big following. But you don't want to have that happen to anybody, right? Because everybody's season is equally important to themselves. So you have to find a way to balance it out. But I don't think it's going anywhere. This is something that I think you see more teams focusing on, right? If we can do well in the league, we can then do well in the Champions League, and maybe again, we talked about maybe possibly having a ranking system, right? Over 4 years, you're wherever you rank. If you're the top two or three or four, wherever you are, boom, you're in, right? So now people are pushing to play more competitive games and whatever, right? You're seeing an uptick in drive, which is always important. But it's always the big thing for me is player safety and schedule congestion. I'm really interested to see if there's a reaction to the schedule congestion. And I'll send it over to you first before I jump into that. Do you have any ideas on what they could do?
Idea on what they can do, but I know it's a topic of conversation because I've seen people bring up the Brazilian team specifically because they've played an
70
actual
something games.
an insane amount of games. Like
Yeah.
that is just ridiculous. Um, it's just far too much. Like it again, you mentioned it. It comes back to this whole conversation of like, is it worth it to play this many games if it means that you're now losing star players for the entire season? and then not being able to see them for whole years. Like I don't know if it is in that case, but it's going to be hard to kind of cherry pick certain competitions and take them out. I mean, there's no chance you can make changes to like the regular season league games, right? Like you kind of have that at two. You play every team twice. Makes sense. You get a home and away. So you're kind of stuck with that. I mean, you could talk about cutting down on cup competitions. Like I think you'd still have some trouble doing that as well. I mean, the FA Cup in England wouldn't be going anywhere, but maybe they look to do something different with the Carabao Cup, or the Leagues Cup or whatever it's called now.
Hmm.
I don't know if I have the right solution right now. I don't even know if there is a right solution. It's very difficult, but I agree with you in that it's almost a little similar to like Leagues Cup in MLS. It's like it was successful and it made good money. It's not going anywhere, regardless of what you think of US Open Cup. It's not going anywhere. So there's going to be another workaround if it is an issue. I mean, I do think it is an issue, but I don't think the solution is get rid of this tournament.
Yeah, no, and here's kind of my thought is schedule congestion's a real thing, and I mean, hell, you could even get every schedule exactly the same, right? Change America to the European calendar, change the European calendar to the American, whatever, right? But the congestion doesn't change. You're just changing when you see the congestion. But we've seen changes before to react to things that are changing in this game. We used to only have three substitutes. Now we've got five in windows, right? I wonder if we see something like increase in squad sizes, right? You can only have 28 players signed to a roster. Okay, well now you can have 40, right? You could basically have two squads, right? Now that already happens with some clubs. Which team's playing in the World Cup final again? Club World Cup final again? One of them has this, don't they? Oh, that's right. They have an entire lone army they can turn into their second team. Chelsea do, don't they? Yeah. But realistically, right, taking all that right, you can take two squads and say, okay, this is going to be my cup squad and my rotation squad, and this is going to be my big squad for all the big money tournaments. I wouldn't be shocked if that's something we see. Would I like it? No, because what's going to happen? All of the European teams are going to use all their stupid money to buy up, overpay for a bunch of people to get two super teams in their over, their umbrella of control, and then think about it, right? City Football Group owns seven teams, so you're just basically saying, hey, you can have 200 players on your books and just they're all yours. You're gonna loan them all out all over the place. They're all gonna be. It sets up a lot of nightmares, but I can see something like that happening because football, while it's a game that everybody loves to be nostalgic over, right? The old days and games gone, guys. We're doing all this soft stuff. It's so woke and VAR and blah 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 blah. But the world changes, right? And so too are the needs and demands of this game. This tournament may push to some of those changes, and I don't necessarily think it'll be a totally bad thing if it's done correctly, right? So we have to, of course, take that with a grain of salt, knowing how good FIFA is at doing things correctly. But it's something that I don't anticipate football being this way forever. It's just not the nature of sports. Players change, demands change, everything changes, and they need to be able to react with that, or they fall behind, right? MLB for the longest time was one of the top sports in America, and they're falling fast. NBA is the same way; they're falling fast because they haven't changed their style, they haven't done anything different in the last 50 years, and now people are like, don't really care about it anymore. I want to try something different, right? So you always have to keep up with the times, and I wouldn't be shocked to see football change in response to something like this.
I mean, hopefully it does.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So